Hello YouTube, Scamp Wolf here, back with another video for your viewing pleasure, and today we're going to rank the Seether discography from my least favorite album to my best favorite album. So, let's begin. Of course, Seether has several albums. In fact, they have, I think, 8 albums. So, let's begin. Um, Not including Disclaimer 2, like, I put them together because it's basically their first album, so that's and Disclaimer 2 is like a re-release, so whenever we get to those I'll explain more. But anyway, first album we have up, and actually my least favorite from Seether is actually their newest one, The Surface Seems So Far, and not because it's the newest album or anything, because I haven't had really time to grow on it or whatever. Maybe it'll get better in the ranking, but for now it is the bottom of my ranking. I mean, it has really good stuff. Like there's Judas Mind, and then Semblance of Me, while and Walls Come Down. Those are good. Try to Heal is also a really good song. But basically, like the second half of the album, I feel like really kind of lags a bit. Like, and there's not really a track on here that's like you'd want to listen to this on repeat all the time. Basically, um, there isn't anything that's like top tier Seether on this album, I think. And it does have some of their weakest material, in my personal opinion. Um, and a lot of the songs sound like each other on this album, and this is just basic for Seether. Like if I wanted to listen to better Seether, I'd probably go for one of their other albums, of course. So not bad, but in fact, this is very good, but it's not their best album by a long shot. And I'm actually gonna put this down here where I have it now. Um, Next up on the list, we have Isolate and Medicate, which is at number 7. Surface Seems So Far is number 8. And once again, it's basically there's nothing. There's not a lot of stuff that's like top tier on this album. Um, I mean, like the singles, of course, have a lot of people would know. Same Damn Life of Words as Weapons, and Nobody Prayed for Me as well. But like, and there's other tracks like My Disaster and Keep Dogs at Bay and See You at the Bottom, which are pretty solid. But I don't jump up and down for this album. Really, this isn't their strongest by a long shot. Um, and like it definitely is. There definitely is good on this album, but again, it's just not one of their best. I think, personally, one of their other albums is a lot better than this. So I'm just gonna put this back. I don't need that anymore. Um, Next up, I'm debating now actually like where to put all this stuff. Um, so I'm kind of thinking here. So next album I have is Civis Pacem Parabellum. And again, a little bit more the same thing, but like they actually try to harken back to like an older style on this album, which I enjoy a lot. Um, and there are pretty good tracks on the album too, like Wasteland that I like. Um, and Can't Go Wrong. And then probably Before the Fall, I guess. Dangerous, one of the singles on the album. Um, I don't remember too much from this album, like from what I've heard, but I do think the sound of it is at least more appealing than the other two albums, which are still good, but this one is also good as well. It's darker, kind of, which I like that, hearing that from Seether, which is definitely a good thing for them as well. So yeah, this album's good just because Wasteland is a good song as well. So there's that. I'm not gonna put that back. I don't know. Whatever. I'm gonna put that back. I'm just gonna set that right there for now. So coming in next, um, kind of thinking here. Uh, Poison the Parish, and again, kind of the same thing, but like, I actually do think this is a better album than um Civis Pacem, I think. Um, and there are a lot of great songs on this album. I feel like there's Stoke the Fire, which is good. Let You Down is good. Um, I remember Against the Wall being really good. Let Me Heal, that's a really good song. And there is a lot of good songs in here. Savior's another great track. So again, another darker album for Seether, especially coming after Isolate and Medicate, which was a little bit lighter. Um, but this one does it better. I think this is probably the best post 2017 Seether album, or a Seether album that has this logo on it, other than their classic logo, which I don't know why they needed to change it, but I guess it looks good on it, so it's definitely good for Seether. Poison the Parish is a really good album. And then next up, pretty much on the same tier as that album, we have one of their classic albums, Finding Beauty in Negative Spaces. I know 2007 is really classic. This is probably the weakest of their first four albums, and it's kind of like um on the same tier as Poison the Parish. I actually thought about putting Poison the Parish a little bit higher than this album, but it is what it is. Um, and but I did put it higher because I do like Howard Benson's production on it, and I do like songs like Waste and like Suicide, Breakdown, um, Rise Above This, even Fallen is good, but there is some weak songs on the album, like I think FMLYHM is not one of their strongest tracks. Don't Believe, I don't really think. And there's just some stuff on here. Um, it's not one some of their best well written songs. No JC is another one of them as well. I don't really care for that much on this album. It's just very mixed. But like the good songs on it do like overpower it a little bit. Waste is a good song that's grown on me since I got into Seether. And of course I've always enjoyed like Suicide, and Breakdown, and other songs, Rise Above This. And yeah, I just think this album's pretty solid front to back. It's just not the strongest from their like 2000s era stuff. So yeah, yeah, that's Funny Beauty in Negative Spaces. Next up, we finally get to probably the most well-known Seether album. Probably, we have Disclaimer, and I said before that I was putting these two together because one, this is actually the first album, and then this is just a reissue of this album with extra songs or like B-sides that were on like soundtracks like Daredevil and like Punisher and stuff like that. Was Seether on Punisher? I think so. They probably were. Yeah, but if you want like, I wish Seether would kind of go back to like this grungy kind of thing, like to be the sound the way that he did Sean Morgan personally. Um, there are really good songs on here. Fine Again and Needles are some of them. Pride is an underrated track, I think, which is very good. Driven Under is really good as well. Of course, a lot of people know Broken. They know Broken for the version with Amy Lee from Evanescence, but the original version is also all right. Not one of my favorites. Um, Your Board's also good. And for the tracks on the reissue that aren't um, broken with Amy Lee on it, there's Hang On, which is good. Sold Me Cigarettes. Um, yeah, Take Me Away is pretty underrated as well. Um, so yeah, this is some pretty good stuff here. The Disclaimer album, very good. First, very good debut from Seether, I think. And now we get to their strongest two albums, and it really could go either way for me when it comes to these two albums in particular, because either two could be considered their best in my personal opinion. Um, I was really debating on whether to put either or on here because, like, I don't know, it was really hard. And I said before this was my favorite album from Seether ever. I think I said it years ago in a video, but this is my runner-up. This one, Holding on the Strings, Better Left to Fray. This album, of course, was the album that made me a Seether fan. Of course, I did buy Disclaimer 2 at Walmart back when it was available at Walmart, and I bought the deluxe for this. And I was like, yeah, I love Seether, and this band was a very important part of my musical identity and stuff. And this album was what I bought, and I loved it. So, yeah, um, there's just a lot of like classic-ish songs on here, which of course, this album being 2011, now it's 2024. I mean, it's not like that far reach to call it classic, but whatever. For Q, the opening track, good, very good song. Here and Now, very good. And of course, I gotta mention the songs Master of Disaster and Fade Out, two of my favorite Seether songs of all time, especially Master of Disaster. That song is fantastic. Probably my favorite Seether song of all time. And there's stuff like Roses on here, Down, that are very good. Tonight is a very good. Like, the singles are very good too. Don't get me wrong. And then you have some of the bonus stuff like Dead Seeds and Nobody, of course. You want to just look at the bonus tracks on the album, and then all the bonus tracks I think are very good. There's that. Yeah, I was obsessed with this album when it came out. This album was very important to me because it was 2011. I was listening to this a lot along with other albums from other bands, and so yeah, this is what got me into Seether basically. So yeah, I could go a lot about this album, but we have one more album to go to, and now I'm matured, I'd pretty much say this is probably their best. There's only one left. This is Karma and Effect. Of course, their sophomore release, and this is like their top tier stuff. They have like the elements from the debut that were good, and they kind of amp them up on this album. I'd say there's heaviness, there's darkness, there's lightness, there's like all sorts of different things that made this album very unique for its time, and also it still holds up today. I think this album still holds up as well as Holding on to Strings. I think those two are their best albums to date. And of course, because of me, Remedy, two classic tracks on there. Of course, The Gift is a very underrated single. Tracks like Given's a very good song. World Falls Away, very underrated. I think like there's just so many good songs on this album. I think this album as a whole plays the best as an actual album with very few weak songs on it. Because even Holding on the Strings, I could say probably has a couple of like songs that aren't nearly as good. Like Forsaken, for example, that's not the strongest compared to like other tracks on the album. But this one, I would say every song on here is fantastic. Like, yeah, I love every song on this album. Maybe even Plastic Man, which probably is not the best track on the album. Like, still, every song on here is good. There's like also Diseased, I'm the One Simplest Mistake, Burrito, like all those good. Truth. I pretty much said the whole track list except Tongue as well. Tongue is good. So yeah, Karma Effect is their best album, in my opinion. That's definitely the truth for me. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, of course. Which Seether album is your favorite? This is Scamp the Wolf signing out. Take care.